If you want to know how to become a professor in material science and nanotechnology, stay with me. Hi, and welcome to the Uncon School at howtobecomeaprofessor.com. My name is Stefan and I'm your host. Today you're going to find out how Professor Greg Carter, Professor of Material Science and Engineering at the prestigious MIT, would plan his career today. Professor Carter received his bachelor, master and PhD degrees all at Berkeley University, and his expertise lies in computational material science and nanotechnology. His research centers on theory and mesoscale modeling of materials, properties, and processing. In particular, Professor Carter has focused on thermodynamics and kinetics of interfaces, simulations of microstructural evolution, and predictions of fracture and reliability in materials. Recently, his work has turned towards the science of battery materials and has recently co-founded a company, 24M, with Professor Chiang, which will produce grid-scale energy storage solutions. He's also very interested in pedagogy, especially on how to combine research and new knowledge with foundational learning. Professor Carter has received NSF funding to develop new teaching methods for science and engineering, and he has received MIT's highest honors for teaching, the McVicker Fellowship, which recognizes excellence in teaching for the institutes, and the Bose Award or Teaching Excellence in the School of Engineering. Professor Carter, Greg, thank you very much for taking your time for this interview and letting me pick your precious brain.
My pleasure, Stefan.
All right. First of all, I'd like to ask you, how would you plan your career in the field of material science and nanotechnology today?
Well, let's see. I guess that many people who are watching this broadcast are probably students.
Right.
And as far as being a student, I would say the most important thing is to go beyond solving the problems from your homework and doing just the reading that the professor asked you to do, but to go a little bit deeper and to let the professors know that you are taking the class very seriously and you're going beyond what's required.
Right.
It's not only important to learn how to think, to learn all the facts and the depth of the particular field you're in, but to make sure that people recognize that you are taking it very seriously and can ask an intelligent and relevant question. That's how I would advise students to work today. Mm-hmm. For an early career, I would definitely pick a problem that other people would recognize as being very important. And I would make sure that I carve out a niche that is definitely recognized as my own. And that takes quite a bit of consideration. You have to concentrate very carefully on what people will look at as being relevant research and try to figure out those problems which haven't been done. If you find yourself chasing problems that other people are done and filling in the details and just sweeping up after the research of other people, then you're going to have a hard time distinguishing yourself.
Right. That's
as far as research goes. The other important thing to do is think about your role at a conference. You'll find yourself giving lots of talks, and practicing how to give an effective presentation is one of the most important ways for people to get to know you. Of course, you're going to write research papers. That's part of the development of a career of any academic. But the other way is to give excellent research talks and also to think very carefully about the questions you should ask in the audience. That's the way that people will recognize that you're paying attention to their work and thinking very critically about the field in general. Those are the most important things about becoming recognized.
Okay.
Getting tenure in the end is a question of being recognized for your excellence. And the most important thing in your tenure process is not only having a good publication record and a good funding record, but getting excellent letters from throughout the field. So you have to form relationships, good working relationships, good intellectual dialogues with other people who are working on similar topics so that they can help you out by writing an excellent letter.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much for the comprehensive answer. And I do believe that your recommendation apply actually to all sciences and all academic fields, isn't it?
I'm pretty sure that's true, yes, but I can't speak for other academic fields.
Okay, awesome. Okay, let's move on to the second part. what are, in your opinion, the most relevant milestones on the road to professorship? Specifically, I'm interested in the question, what are, in your opinion, the most relevant journals and conferences in the field of nanotechnology and material science?
This is difficult to answer because the milestones are so diverse. When I think about the important parts of my career, I found a few mentors who I worked with who became great friends and like-minded conversationalists that I could bounce ideas off of. And the milestone was finding those particular people. And this is an important part for anybody who's doing a professional career, and that is find the right people to work with. It's not necessarily the brightest person or the most well-known person. Right. It's the person that can help you out the most by helping you think through problems, by having enough trust that you can have a discussion back and forth. And so one of my important milestones was finding that particular thing. Another important milestone was a particular moment, and this is a bit of an anecdote. Mm-hmm. I went to work as a postdoc with one of the scientists I admired most. And I thought that the relationship would be the following. I would go to his office, I would ask him a question of what was ever on my mind, and we would have a dialogue. So the first time this happened, I was a fresh postdoc. I went down and I asked him a question that I hadn't thought through carefully. Mm-hmm. And my mentor, my eventual mentor, said, "I can't believe you've come to my office and asked me a question that you haven't thought about completely. Get out of my office, think about the question, and come back sometime later." And that was one of the most important lessons that I had. That is to think carefully by yourself, figure out where the problems are, try to solve the problem yourself and think about it, understand the literature, and then go ask when you get stuck. Then you and the person that you're discussing things with will both learn something. That was an important milestone, learning that. For me, other important milestones which are more typical were winning some awards when I was a fairly young scientist. And what that did was give me some recognition. Important milestones were writing papers that I cared about very much. I have to say that the field has changed quite a bit between the time when I started as a young scientist and the way it is now. The mode now is to write many short papers, and when I was a young scientist, the mode was to write longer, more comprehensive papers. And so that particular bit of advice about writing long review articles, I don't think necessarily applies anymore. Mm-hmm. Another very important milestone strikes me as a time when I went to go work someplace and I dedicated myself for 2 weeks for learning something entirely new. Mm-hmm. I didn't go there to work on the particular problem that I was thinking about, but I went there to get an education that I couldn't get otherwise. And those particular 2 weeks have generated many, many things that I've worked on throughout my career and given me the background to make progress. Another important milestone is I realized early on that, and this is particular to me, that I could switch fields fairly frequently. Mm-hmm. And that allowed me to continue to be very excited about what I was working on. So those are important milestones.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing so many wonderful suggestions. Thank you so much for that, and being very specific about that.
You're welcome.
In the final part, I'd like to ask you, Professor Carter, how have you been able to maintain such a high level of motivation and discipline throughout your distinguished career? Do you have a specific working routine that you follow each and every day?
I don't. And so one of the things that I think every faculty member struggles with is time management. Mm-hmm. And this is a skill that is learned. I wasn't very good at it from the very beginning. Right. And so now I've learned how to do time management, and that means having to say no to a lot of different people who want to work with you. So that's an important thing to learn, and learning how to say no in a very polite manner is a good skill to learn. As far as discipline, my feeling is that you should be doing something all the time. You should either be thinking deeply about something, working on a particular problem, and when you decide you're going to work on something, work on it and have the discipline of not becoming distraction. distracted.
Right.
There are far too many distractions today. It's too easy to read email. It's too easy to do something that is trivial. What is hard to do is sit down and do focused thought for an extended amount of period so that you can solve a problem. And the discipline to do that, I think, is very important. One of the things that I feel most lucky about is my ability to concentrate and focus for very long periods. I think if I hadn't been able to do that, I wouldn't have been able to make any progress. And so it's that kind of reflective, deep thinking that I hope I have. It's nice to think that I have that. Is something that continues to be very, very important to me.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, and
also, I like what I do.
Definitely, obviously.
Okay.
Professor Carter, thank you so much for really for this short but very concise collection of your experience, and I'm sure that many of our viewers are inspired by your generous mentoring, online mentoring here. And if you guys like this interview and are as excited as I am about Professor Carter, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and visit us at howtobecomeaprofessor.com to learn more essential skills that you can apply within and beyond academia. Professor Carter, thank you very much for taking your time. And
thank you, Stefan. I have to say that I enjoyed this interview very much. Your very engaging manner made me want to give you a good interview, so I enjoyed it very much. Thank you.